Hi everyone, I'm Phaedra and we share life on a flower farm, and today I'm going to teach you how to take cuttings from hydrangeas and grow your own beautiful hydrangea plants. Let's get straight into it. Here is one of my hydrangea cuttings that is a year old, and this one is 2 years old. So this is a bit of a process and it can take a while until it's at this point and ready to plant out. But to get started, find yourself some hydrangea plants, and these ones don't look the best. Unfortunately, I've filmed this at the end of our season. It's autumn here, or fall. So what you want to do is find some stems that have 3 leaf nodes. You need 3 of these leaf nodes on each cutting and just snip. And what I do is just pull some leaves off while I'm standing at the plant because it can mulch in, but you've got to have these 3 leaf nodes here, 1, 2, 3. That's going to give the cutting the absolute best chance of striking. So I just go through and I find as many as I can. The stems without the flower heads on it are going to be better, but if you can only access stems with flower heads, which I'll show you later, you can do that as well. And here they are. I had this beautiful bush to cut from, but there was very few stems with just leaves and no flower heads, so I cut them really long so I could actually keep the flowers. And I'm trimming up the stems here, and these have a lot of woody growth, which is really good. If you can get cuttings that have some woody growth on them, they're also going to have a better chance at striking roots. So I'm just sort of stripping, making sure I've got 3 leaf nodes on each cutting. I'm cutting the flower tip off the top of each cutting. This particular cutting had a lot of stuff going on this node, which is really good because it's going to help it strike roots. They're only going to strike roots on the leaf nodes that are below the soil once you put the cutting in the soil. So once they're all ready, I've just popped them in water, keep them hydrated, and then you want to get your soil ready. You want a nice fine potting mix, and you can use whatever pots you want. For this one, I'm just using a single pot per cutting, but you'll see a little bit later on in the video, I've also used a big styrene box and I've just put 24 cuttings in each box. Water the soil really well. I've watered it enough that it's actually dripping through the bottom of the pot. You want the soil really, really moist. Then you can use a dibbler, or I've just got a stick here. Kind of size it up for how deep you're going to put this hole into the pot, and wiggle it around to make it wide enough that the edge of the cutting isn't going to scrape as you poke it down into the hole. So we'll do it again, just poke it into the soil, wiggle it around. So you do this whether it's in a pot or a tub or whatever you're using for your cuttings. And then you need a hormone, either powder or liquid. I've got a liquid here, and then you're dipping each stem into that liquid or the powder, making sure that node's really well covered, and then it's going straight into the soil, except I've not got that wide enough, so I'm making it a bit wider. You want to just gently put that down through the hole and then compress the soil around the stem, and just repeat over and over and over till it's all done. These leaf nodes are important because this is where the roots are going to come from. And I always want to try to get at least 2 leaf nodes under the soil. Sometimes you'll get a cutting that's a bit too long and you can only get 1 under the soil. Just try to get 2 if you can. But if you can only get 1, that's fine. At least you've got something in there. But that's why we need those leaf nodes. And I got 2 under the soil in that one. It is actually easier to trim the leaves before you put them in the soil, but in this case I forgot. You don't actually even need leaves. I just like to leave some on, and you trim them so the cutting isn't having to put too much energy into the actual leaves. You want it to put energy into growing roots. And then give it a really good water because you want the soil to compact around the cutting. Exact same principles here, but I'm doing it in a styrene box. It'll be a bit more insulated. I'm doing this in the summer, so it is a bit tricky to keep the soil moist, but exact same thing. And then to care for your cuttings, you need to keep them moist and warm. In the summer I have them in this grow house. Our air temperature is warm, but in the winter this gets covered in plastic. And if you don't have a grow house, you can use a tub like this and it'll keep them warm and moist. So go out and give it a go. This is my plant. It's just over 2 years old and they do take a bit of babying. So you're going to have to keep them very moist and very warm. So these are the plants that we started. This has been a couple of weeks. They're looking fine. I know these leaves are dying off and that's absolutely okay. These ones here are from a couple of maybe a month or so ago. And as you can see, they have started to shoot up nice new growth. That doesn't mean there's a root system in there yet. It'll take a bit longer to develop. So like I've said, it is a couple of years process to get this going. Just got to keep looking after them. Some of them will die off. This one's died. There's a few I can see there that have died off. But generally what I'm usually aiming for is at least a 50% success rate. And I usually get around a 75% success rate with hydrangeas. So take extra cuttings with the idea that you're going to lose some. And it's absolutely okay to lose some. It's not really costing you much money to do this as opposed to going and buying hydrangea plants. And if you want lots of them like I do, this is really the way to go. So go and enjoy.